Hi, guys, and welcome to the podcast. This is episode 6 of the Improving Always podcast, and we're going to talk about trials, how important they are, how to prepare, and what to do when you're actually at a trial. So I'll kick us off really quick just to say that a lot of players have this this notion that they're just going to be playing and someone's going to see them play and be like, oh my God, this player is incredible, and pick them up and sign them to a team. And that's it. And that is just not how it works. Unless you are at the very, very top, you are going to trial with a team before they sign you. They're not just going to sign you based on, performances that you've had in the past. They're going to most likely invite you to come train with their team. And then they'll make the decision based on that as well, because that's just how teams at lower levels operate. So obviously, once you're playing in the Prem, maybe not so much, but before you're there, it is very, very important to learn how to deal with the pressure of a trial, how to prepare for it, what mindset you should have going into it. So, don't think this isn't for you because you're going to be the best player in the world. Even to get there, you're gonna need to go through a trial at some point in your career. So yeah, let's just start with that, how important succeeding in a trial can be.
So, I can start, I don't mind. So we're talking about how important it is to make a trial.
Yeah, Laura, that it's not like a team is just going to sign you based on seeing you play or something probably you're going to get invited to trial with them before they actually sign you. So
like the movie Goal.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually thinking about that earlier because you're not going to just show up and they'll be like, okay, you're signed. You're probably going to show up and train with the team for, at least a couple sessions.
Newcastle scouts are known for being at men's league in LA, by the way.
That's true.
He was not a Newcastle scout when that happened. He was fired. Excuse me, Noblet. How many times have you watched Goal?
Right. Come on, dude.
I've watched it at least 20 times. So come on now. Yeah. So any experience, what are your guys, experiences? I'm assuming that most of you, for most teams that you've joined, you had a trial with them first rather than just signing immediately, except maybe Dimitri, because he's just too
for
good.
Me, my trials have been, for me, it wasn't like a one-day thing, then you either make it or you don't. The trials were usually anywhere from 2 weeks to a whole month, where you just go to their practices and train with them 3 times a week, and then they can have a very good look at how good you actually are, right? And that's more of a closed trial. It's not an open trial where you just get a bunch of people, they pay money, and one coach just takes a look at all of them for one day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think go ahead, Noblet.
And I think one thing that we have to mention here is you have to seek out most of these tryouts or trials. You're not going to, occasionally a semi-pro or pro team will have an open tryout and you can pay $200 to go try out. Those, nothing against going to those, but those are not the ones where you're most likely to make it, because there's going to be 400 people there and you could get lost in the crowd, even if you're amazing. But the ones that I made, normally I had made pre-established contact with the team well before the tryout, and they invited me either to an open tryout, knowing who I was in advance, or they started inviting me just to join in practices. And I did that through making contact with different teams. When I was still trying to play competitively, basically what I did was I searched every semi-pro and pro team within basically the United States and said, hey, this is me. My CV is attached. If I can get a tryout or trial, please let me know. And I would much appreciate that. And that's how basically it worked for all of them.
Yeah. And a lot of players think they're too good to seek out a trial. Someone will see me, I'm good enough, but doesn't work like that. You have to put in the work, there at a certain level when you're playing very high up, obviously you'll get contacted maybe, or you'll have an agent who will get contacted or will contact teams for you. But, at lower levels, and I think you probably don't need an agent. Like if you're playing semi-professional or even in lower professional leagues, you don't need an agent. You can do all this stuff yourself. Just takes a little bit of time. But it's so worth it. Even if you're already playing on a team and you're already happy, you always need to be updating your resume, updating your highlight video if you can, and reaching out to teams, because you never know when that opportunity is going to come along. But as I was saying, don't expect it to be like, we're signing you based on this highlight video. No, they're going to come watch you play, or they're going to invite you to come trial with them. It's not going to be like a done deal after they see your resume or something. They want to see you play in person. They probably want to see you train as well, because, a lot of times you'll get a better feel for who a player actually is watching them train than you will in games. The training environment that matters when a team's going to try to sign you. They want to see how you act in training. Do you think you're like too good for this or too good for that? They want to see that stuff. So, be ready to put in the work at a trial, not just think, oh, I'm good enough to be signed just right off the bat.
And one tip I'd like to add in, if you can't seem to be finding trials for yourself, I would say just go on Google, search up soccer/football, whatever region you're in, soccer tryouts in my area. And then if that doesn't work, if it's not tryout season like me, just find whatever level you want to play at, that league, go in every team, find the email of the coach, and like Noblet said, like email every coach, just ask to train with them. And that's basically a tryout.
Yep. Dimitri?
Yeah, that's all good stuff.
What did you want to say? Because you cut
off
Noblet, and then you were the bigger man and let him go first.
That's true. Physically and emotionally a bigger man. What was I gonna say? No, I don't know. I was just gonna say that's how most of the trials were too. It's not usually like a one-day thing. It's usually like a couple weeks, a week. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah. So I hope we've hammered enough on the point that trials are important. I didn't get my chance to shit on open trials quite enough, but I will say don't rely on open trials. If you want to go to them, if you have the money to spend, whatever it is, if an open trial is like $5 or $10, and you get to play against other like halfway decent players for a couple hours, that might be worth it to you. Probably would be. And I'm not saying you can't make connections, can't be a good experience. There's always that slight chance that you'll get picked up, but open trials are not the way that most players become professionals. Open trials, it's hundreds of players. It is a business. The people running the trial almost always are there to make money, not to get players to the next level, and if you're paying like $100, $200, $400, like you can spend that money on, like a decent camera to film your games, or like, you can spend that money. Yeah. Individual training
team
or something. Yeah. No, but like, I think spending hundreds of dollars, is not on open trials. It's just not worth it. I just wouldn't go down that road, because, so few players get picked. Sometimes none actually get picked. Usually they'll like take one or two to like trial with the team after that open trial, and then they cut them on like day one. So
they usually knew of them beforehand.
Yeah, true.
I actually have direct experience with this, and have had coaches from lower level teams say, our open tryouts are purely a fundraiser. Like, we know who we're looking at before they even show up, but 400 other people show up, and we know we're not picking any of them unless the next Messi randomly
they score like 10 goals every game. Yeah.
But I've gone to those myself, and I have had like wonderful games and just waiting to get a call back and nothing happens. And
same.
They're not how you get noticed most of the time, unless you have a pre-contact, which the ones I've made, I always made contact beforehand. And the ones I didn't make contact, I almost never made. And that's just how it works.
Yeah. And that might seem like super unfair, but at the same time, you have to realize, like, I talk all the time about how like one good game doesn't make you a good player. So like, imagine, like, put yourself in the boots of like the person, the coach watching you. Like they see you play well one time. Maybe you play even better than the guy they know about, but they know that guy and they know, okay, he looks a little bit off today, but I've seen him in the past and he's played well so many times. I know he's, played for this team that I know is a good team. He's one of the best players on the team. Like, one day isn't going to change their opinion. Even a couple days, a couple good performances isn't necessarily enough to change their opinion of you. So even if you think you deserve a spot on whatever team you're trying out for, you might not get it. That's just how it works. And, you just
Life's
have to deal with that. Yeah, life isn't fair. And like, open trials are just like, as I said before, it's just not the way to go. To do it if it falls into your lap or if it's cheap or whatever, but I wouldn't seek them out too much. You want to be looking to train with a team or to set up a private trial with a team and like go actually train with the team, and it's like you and the team, not like 10 kids who are trying out and they pick whoever they want. So yeah.
One more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's actually sometimes like at big open trials. Like, for example, I actually did try out for the MLS expansion Atlanta United when they first came. And there's like...
When was that?
It was 2017 or something like that. But it was huge, probably 400, 500 or so players. And like, here's the thing. Like, there maybe was a few guys that if they would have got in with like the reserves team, they could have actually impressed the coach. But you throw them with the 400, 500 people who went there because MLS expansion club, this is my chance for my big shot. And you get lost in the crowd. Like you can't even perform because like, and I'm not trying to take shots at other players that went to this, but I mean, there are guys out there who probably were okay-ish in high school and just were following their dream, even though they weren't very good. And like you get on a team with like 5 guys like that, 4 guys who are decent college players, and maybe 2 guys who realistically could play some sort of semi-pro or professional soccer. And it's really hard to stand out because you have to have support around you. Soccer is a team sport. I played as a striker and it's like, well, I barely touched the ball in my first game in that tryout. So it's like,
you play as a goalkeeper and you don't have a single shot, Yeah.
I mean, that's how tryouts work. I mean, you could literally, Lionel Messi could show up to a certain tryout and just nobody's good enough to get him the ball. What is he supposed to do? Do everything by himself? That's just not how soccer works.
Is he just playing with 25 other Noblets that whole time?
Well, I mean, he wouldn't get the ball off us anyways because we'd always keep it.
And also like, that's it's a good point to like know the player that you are and know like what you've accomplished in the past, what teams are going to look seriously at you, because like, it's, if you're coming from like high school and all you've played is high school and like club, and you might be a really great player, but MLS teams, they're not going to look at you. Like look for semi-pro teams, look for, low-level professional teams, look for low-level professional teams abroad. Don't reach out to don't try to find the connections to like teams in the Prem. Like, come on, be realistic. Like maybe you'll get there someday, but as I've said so many times, like small steps, right? You might go from like, playing, you might end up playing in college instead of going to the professional level. That's fine. Doesn't mean your career is over. You might start playing semi-pro. That might be a path to pro. That might be a path to a higher division. But don't reach out to like Barcelona because like you found the connection.
Don't kill
like,
my dreams, Coach Christo.
Who's gonna like, these teams aren't gonna, and I know that's an extreme example, but like even like a championship team in England, they're not gonna take someone they've never heard of for who's like was playing in high school a year ago. Like that's not gonna happen. A 5th or 6th division team in England, maybe. A 7, 8, 9th division team in England, yeah, they probably could.
Much more likely.
Yeah, it's all, you got to play the odds. And then also the last thing I'll say on this is if you can't find trials, just ask to train with teams, like a semi-professional team or low-level professional team. Like, this is great experience. You get great connections. Even if it didn't lead into something like with that specific team, the coach really likes you. He might recommend you somewhere else. Like, if you're playing on a team and it's not at the level you want to play at, see if you can find another team that you could just train with, just like once or twice a week. And like, no promises. They're not saying they're going to look at you or anything, but you just train with them. It's a way to build connections, and you have to always be looking to try to build connections with coaches, with teammates, with opponents. Even, you need to be looking for these connections. That's what's going to help you more than anything else. Like, reaching out to teams is great, but actually knowing someone personally is always going to be a little bit better.
Yeah,
that's
actually. Sorry, you can go first, Dimitri, if you want.
No. You go.
I was just gonna throw in a little.
Dimitri's
fun fact.
always the bigger man.
I know.
Actually, in grade 10, what I did was I found Jurgen Klopp's email and I sent him my CV and my highlight video. I mean, he hasn't gotten back yet, but you never know. Maybe there's a chance.
It's
still going.
It
Yeah.
got lost in the mail.
Which
Mail.
team were you trying out for at the time? Asking for a trial though with Jurgen Klopp.
Liverpool.
Bayern?
No, yeah, like 2 years ago.
That's awesome. I can't believe he didn't respond.
I know, man. I could have replaced Van Dijk.
It's like me waiting for my my letter from Hogwarts when I was 11. And just never came.
Wow. I got mine, so I don't know. I got my letter from Hogwarts and my email from Klopp. So I don't know what you guys are complaining about.
All right, D, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, going off your point about how training is sometimes better than trialing, or like it's something that you should look to get. That's how, when I first came to Spain, I was here training with Alcorcón B in the 4th division for like 2 months. I was with them. They were like, "Oh, you're good. Come back during preseason." I was like, "Okay, like now I know I'm good enough at this level, and I've definitely improved a ton. I'm going to go train with this other 3rd division team, which I know, see if I'm good enough for that level." So I went over, was with them for like a month, maybe 2 months. And then after that, after all those connections, I got taken to another team, which had just got promoted to the 3rd division. And that's the team I signed for. So it's definitely really a thing that can get you teams, not necessarily just trials.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a good segue. Segue is my favorite word in the world. If you didn't already know, I use it every time. Now I've ruined it, but that's a good segue into what I wanted to talk about next, which is like preparation for trials. So obviously, we could talk about different kinds of preparation. I know mine will be probably a little bit different than most people's, but like, trials it's a stressful experience when you have a big trial coming up in a couple months. And also sometimes players are caught in a little bit like of limbo, like Dimitri kind of was. Like, you're training with a team, but you're not signed to a team. You're not playing actual games. All you have is the training. And that can be tough sometimes. But I think the number one thing when you're preparing for a trial, or you might be going overseas for a trial in a couple months and you're not playing on a team right now, the most important thing you can do is consistently play with good players, players who are as good as you possibly can. So if you're not currently on a team, you need to find a team to train with, or you need to find even like high level pickup games. Like, I know it's not ideal, but it's much better than nothing. Like, individual training is not enough. You need to be playing with other players. I get messages all the time. It's like, I'm going to stop training with my team because they're not good enough, and I'm going to train individually and then go on trial somewhere. And it's like, no, you need to play with your team. You need to keep playing with your team. I don't care how bad they are. Playing with a team and training with a team is always better than doing it by yourself, even though individual training is important.
We need a fifth on the podcast so we can make a little 5v5 team, and then everyone can play with us.
We need a keeper.
We're not putting Noblet back there.
I mean, I'll just score all the goals anyways. That's how it's I mean, I'll be Jose Ariel Senni back there.
I think it's tomorrow's goalkeeper on TikTok.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have no idea.
I need to get. Honestly, I would pay to see like us play futsal or something like at 5v5. Go against like football entangled, natural. What is it? Natural ballers or something?
There's
some
one that's
other-
there's one that's like holistic football or something
Yeah.
like that. He has an avatar of Ronaldinho doing the thing, and
I
it's
see
he-
them every once.
he's like
in a
a
while.
bad
Yeah.
rip-off of football entangled.
I think we'd absolutely smash them. I'm not.
Well,
No
I mean,
doubt about it.
do you guys think that football entangled's not just like a 200-pound, 50-year-old fat person that is just lying? Because that's what I think he is.
I don't think.
Whoa.
With a foot
Call him
fetish.
out. Call him out.
Like, I
Call
think
him-
everything about him is probably a scam, because I don't think this is his only scam. I think he's doing dozens of different
Pyramid
internet
schemes.
scams. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how they work. There's no way he makes enough money off the one scam about fascia. He's doing 3 or 4 other things, and he's selling healing crystals and stuff on the side. We might want to edit this out so we're not just football entangled.
We might
be honest.
we might need a section of the podcast where we just invite other TikTokers on and just roast them out of They're like they
I need
think
to-
it's like a legit interview, and then we just destroy them.
I need to get Logan Phipps on. It's Logan Phipps, right?
Yes.
I don't know why, but I was always reading him as Logan Phillips.
Well, yeah,
'cause
your brain's
Phipps
used to
yeah.
that, though. That's how your brain works. Is when
Yeah.
there's missing information, it automatically fills in the information.
And
But yeah,
he
his-
told me that he'd never eaten a pineapple. And now I'm commenting on every Instagram post, every TikTok post, and I'm just saying, I'd believe this guy if he had ever eaten a pineapple, but he hasn't. So, you know.
It's not just not eaten; he doesn't want to eat it. He thinks it would be bad.
That's
I'm so confused.
disgraceful.
It was
Because
so
it
funny.
can't-
It was completely unplanned that I had a pineapple the next day. It was completely unplanned. I didn't plan that at all.
Well,
And I just
And
woke up and I
the
had a
worst part
pineapple.
is he thought that the abacaxi grelhado, which is Brazilian grilled pineapple with cinnamon on top, would be bad.
So good.
yes,
so
it's
good.
literally like the best thing ever. It's like out of this world good. And he's like,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound good. I was like, you're crazy. We can't be friends anymore.
Good. Yeah. Good point to
And
To
good
to get
good
back-
segue.
good segue to get back into preparing for a trial. And how, like, apart from training, there are also other things that are important, like nutrition and sleep. And I would say, mental preparation as well, making sure you take care of your life stresses, because, that stuff can weigh on us. So obviously I recommend doing, some meditation. I work with players. I do help them get together self-talk or imagery scripts, or sometimes instructional set scripts or videos, to help them in preparation for a trial. And all this stuff matters. Like this, training is just one part of it. All the stuff that we talked about in like the recovery video, that stuff also matters. You have to, if you want to go pro, act like you already are professional, act like it's your job to perform well, and have those high expectations of yourself. And I found that will, make you just such a different player if you're already saying, this is my job, this is what I'm doing. Obviously it might not be easy because you have other things going on at the same time, but you need to prioritize the things that you want to do.
Oh yeah, fake it till you make it, baby.
For me, I might actually have kind of a different view when I'm getting ready for tryouts. I don't really get that anxious, and that's because, in my opinion, tryouts in its simplest terms is just showcasing yourself to another team. So you don't need to try to impress anyone or change your play style to stand out. Just play your best, and if you don't make it, that's fine, because there's an infinite amount of other tryouts and open trials or whatever that you can attend, in my opinion. So the best thing you can do is just give it your 100%. That's my take.
Yeah, that's kind of how I viewed it as well. I never got super nervous or anxious for it. I was going out to do the same thing I did when I was playing with my friends. It's just they're new friends and they're better at soccer friends, and there's coaches watching us. And I was just like, well, I'm going to be out here and do what I do. I mean, that's the easiest way to do it. And of course, not everybody can do it that way. Some people do get really nervous and they have to take the proper steps to try to mitigate that as much as possible. But one of the other things, and I'm going to repeat this ad nauseum every single time on this podcast, is remember why you play the game. It's fun. So even in the most important trial, the most important game, or whatever you're doing, at the end of the day, why you're there is you enjoy doing it. And when you think this is going to be fun, you'll probably play better. And it might help with the nerves. Some people it doesn't, but for me, it always has.
Wow. We need a swear jar, but for every time Noblet says we do it because it's fun, and then we I don't know, we use all the money and we
do
go
something fun.
We organize the 5v5 tournament, buy everyone playing tickets. Yeah, like 100%. I agree that like a lot of people think like ask me like, how should you play at a trial? What should I do at a trial? Just play, because like coaches are not looking for players to like impress them by doing something. Like coaches are looking for players that will help them win games. That's what they're looking for. So play in a trial, in every drill, every scrimmage, every, fake game that you're playing against other players who are trialing or the actual team or whatever, play as if it's a game that you really want to win. Play hard, make good decisions on the ball, be creative when you think that's the right decision, play simple when that's the right decision. And what's the worst that could happen? You to get taken to that team. Who cares? Most trials end in disappointment. That's just true. Most trials end in disappointment for most players. You'll probably go on 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe like tens of trials before you get an opportunity out of them. That's fine. That's how it is. Don't get discouraged. Keep going and like just move on to the next trial. Yeah. And I have one more thing I want to say that is a little funny.
And if you're struggling with like anxiety just before a tryout, people deal with it in different ways, right? So either you meditate, like Coach Christo said, you do visualization. You just kind of have to find your own thing that you can do to like ease your nerves. Like for me, maybe it's playing video game. For one of my friends actually that plays in an MLS academy, he used to just go on a guitar and just jam for like 30 minutes before a tryout. So yeah, just find what works for you, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, listen to music, have some meals that
Watch
you
a
know are
movie.
good for you,
that you
Just
enjoy.
chill.
Yeah.
Go on
Yeah,
a
for
walk.
sure.
Think about this podcast, listen to this podcast.
Listen to this podcast. True. Yeah. What the other thing that I'll say is when you don't succeed at a trial, there's one thing that you can do that will help you in future trials, and that's finding out why. So swallow your pride and ask the coach or whoever was watching you why you didn't succeed. They might not get back to you, but they might. And that matters. Also, it leaves a good last impression that you're, a big enough person to be like, look, I didn't succeed, but I'm not going to be like, screw you, screw this team. I'm never talking to you again. You can go to them and ask or send an email or whatever it is, what was it about me that made you think I wasn't the right player for this team? And usually, I found that usually people respond and they're usually pretty nice. And, it might be like, we weren't looking for this position, which then you can be like, okay, fair enough, I'll move on. Or it might be, you're just not good enough for this level yet. Just extra motivation to improve. Like I see a lot of people like let bad things happen to them and then don't like use those tough experiences. I'm not saying it's easy, but the bad things that happen to you, they're only going to help you if you use them. So like, find out why you didn't succeed, learn your lessons and succeed next time. I think it's really, really important. I think it also leaves a good impression on that team. Maybe in the future, they'll call you back.
Yeah, that's just a really simple, easy thing to do Definitely. And one simple, easy thing to do that I didn't mention before is when you're at the trial, just be loud. That's what I always tell everyone when like younger people are asking about trials. It's the easiest thing to do. Even if you're a bad player, you can be loud, and it gets a lot of attention. And coaches love when you're communicating with your teammates, when you're talking, when you're like getting formation, do this, do that. Just the simplest thing. So please do that.
Yeah, even if it's obvious things, just go ahead and yell it and say it. And for one, like, the good players know what you're doing, so they're not going to get mad at you. It's only players who probably will never play at that level that would get mad at you if you're constantly directing them. Because good players, like, if they hear you say something correct, they just thumbs up, move on with the game. It's the only players I've ever had that got upset when I do stuff like that was in high school, and they didn't like to. We're all in different things, so like I don't really know who you're pointing at.
All three.
Like, because you're pointing down and there is no one there.
Yeah,
It's the wrong way. You got to go the other way. The other way.
Oh, I'm at the top. For me, that's how it goes.
Yeah, but something else, because this is something that I've read that's actually true, and I've heard Christo actually mention it himself, is if you can do something like, and you don't mind doing it, it doesn't bother you, that will make you physically stand out in the crowd, like bleaching your hair blonde. Like, there's actually real empirical evidence that coaches will bias towards blonde players to brunette players or other things like that. And it's probably not just blonde. Like, if you put yourself in a red mohawk, they'll probably stare at you that way too. And it's just that's part of how a cognitive bias works is it's like if you have two players in a crowd of 20 players and one of them is very clean cut, looks very normal, brunette hair, and then you have another guy who has a huge blonde mohawk, you're going to look at the guy with the blonde mohawk more naturally just because he stands out in the crowd. And so things like that actually aren't silly and unproductive. Like, there's actual real evidence that coaches bias that.
Yeah. Or so like some flashy boots rather than like just regular black ones or something. Yeah, for sure.
Those don't stand out anymore. Everybody has flashy boots now. So
maybe the black ones stand out now. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you're just born bald like Noblet. That might make you stand out too.
The beard. There we go.
The beard does stand out in a crowd.
We all know the only reason anyone follows you on TikTok is for the beard. I'm sorry.
I mean, of course. It's where my strength comes from too.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, there's definitely things that you can do. Other things like, Dimitri said, talking to the players, communication is super, super important. Be loud. Also, I would say like keep it to instruction and like encouragement. So, if someone messes up, you're not like shouting at them, why the heck did you do that? You're saying like, next one, don't worry, move on, whatever it is. And instruction, obviously, like get back into position, step up, whatever it is. So I like keep it to instruction and motivation and encouragement. Other things that you can do is like stuff off the field. Like when you show up to a trial, talk to the other players, talk to the coach, go right up to the coach and say, hi, my name is, Christo. Thanks for this opportunity. Shake his hand, whatever, and then get on with it. You don't need to have like a huge conversation with him, but like take 10 seconds to do that might make a good first impression. And don't like, I would always I was nervous before trials. So what I would do is when I got to a trial, I wouldn't sit in the locker room and tie my boots 10 times. I'd get out on the field and start juggling.
Is that shots at me? Shots at me?
I would, I'd get out on the field and start juggling. If there were other players there, get them into a rondo. That stuff. One, it can take your mind off things, and also a little bit better preparation. Like getting a couple extra touches in, why not? And getting to know other players before the trial starts. Also good because, those are the players you're going to be playing with. If they don't know you, maybe that will make them pass you the ball less, or not want to be on the same team as you. But if you like show that you're ready to play with them, you're ready to go. Then, just making good first impressions on the coach and also the players. I found that helps a lot.
Yeah. Even warming up like that, like the coaches oftentimes are there. Like if you have a really good touch, very crisp passing, amazing juggling skills and all of that, like I do
your freestyling.
There is some opportunity that the coach would be like, this guy's touch looks really good and really crisp. So I'm going to keep an eye on him when we actually start playing to see if he can do it when we're actually playing. And also they'll look at the players who don't have very good touch when they're warming up and be like, yeah I'm not going to look at him very much.
That's why I get out the tennis ball.
But so like, it's that plus just they'll look at you and be like, the guys who are warming up are the guys who are serious about this. And the guys who are sitting there shooting the shit, they're not as serious about it. They're there for the experience and to have fun, but not fun playing soccer.
Yeah. I mean, Dimitri, you sounded like you had something to say.
No, I had two things to say, but then you just were on a roll. So now it's behind us. It's behind us.
Fair enough. Yeah. So, I mean, like, obviously, we've talked about how important trials are, how to go about getting trials, preparing for a trial, and then, succeeding in a trial, all things that like coming full circle, you need to be able to do this. Like if you get super nervous at trials, you need to figure that out because you're going to have a trial at some point that's going to be really, really important. Or, multiple trials. That's actually good. Cause like one thing that I recommend is like, if you have a trial, set up like multiple trials, like say you're going to another country for trials, set up multiple trials. Like don't put all your eggs in one basket because like one, it's going to be like, it's such a tough time going over there. And then, so make it worth it. And also takes the pressure off knowing that you have so much stuff set up. If you're going somewhere and you only have one trial and it's like, this is make or break. It's easy to get in your head, but if you're like, if I don't do this, I have the next one next week, I have another one the week after, like it can be a lot, can take the stress off, a lot.
Yeah.
It's much easier.
I'm not the bigger man this time. I was just gonna say, and like if it's a multiple day trial, obviously don't stress if you have one bad day. Just let that go, keep it behind you, and just kill the rest of the days. One bad session doesn't mean anything.
Also, on the point of having multiple trials, it's much easier if you have like 3 or 4, maybe more trials. If like one of the first 2 just works out and you're going to be a great fit for that team, it's much easier just to not do the other 3 or 4 trials than it is to think, well, this is the team I want to play for. I got to make this team. And then if I don't make that team, it's just, I don't know what I'm going to do. So it's much easier to have those backups, even if you do like your dream team to play for is the first trial. Like, well, if I don't make my dream team, here are 3 or 4 other teams that I would be more than happy to play with. But if I do make my dream team, like that's okay. Cause I mean, it's easier just to not do the other trials if you've made a team and it's good than it is to start from scratch all over again without anything already prepared.
Yeah. And don't also like don't get this is maybe not as much to do with trials, but don't get like baited into going to a better team if they're not going to actually offer you something. Like you always need to be playing on a team. If a team reaches out and they're interested in you, don't be like, go to your team that you're playing for right now and be like, I'm done, I'm out of here. Like, you can go trial for a team while keeping, staying with the team that you're playing with right now, see if it works or not. Because, as I said, a lot of trials aren't going to end well for you. That's fine. That's, all of us, I'm sure, have had trials where we, didn't make it or even like played horribly or something, wildly underperformed. We probably had all of those. And, that's fine. That's how it is. Players who are playing at the professional level now, it's not like they succeed every time they play. They've probably had bad trials as well. And they, picked themselves up afterwards, dusted themselves off and moved on. That's what you have to do.
One thing I
Alrighty.
can add.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
All right. About like the anxiety and having multiple trials. The more you do something, the less uncomfortable it's going to be. So naturally, having more trials is going to build that level of comfort, and then from there, it's going to reduce your anxiety as well.
Yeah, I know. Like we
look
said,
at this. Look at
What?
this podcast, you know, first episode
Yeah.
is wildly
Was
worse
horrible.
than this one, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, as much as we say, like, just play, it's nothing has changed. Just play, just train. Like, trials do feel a little bit different. So, you know, if you can get used to that feeling, obviously you'll be a little bit more comfortable, maybe play a little bit better. You know, that's just kind of how it goes. So anyone have anything they want to say before I take the last sip of my water?
I just adding on to that, like, the reality is the more you're doing it, even the things outside of the trial itself. So for example, let's say you're driving an hour for your tryout or trial. The more you do that, the more that becomes the normal thing to drive an hour and go play. If you're going to another country and you're having to live out of a hotel or something like that, the more you're in that hotel, you get more comfortable living in a hotel or in a foreign environment that you're not used to. So like, I mean, if you've never been outside the country and you just buy a ticket to England and think, oh, I'm going to train, you're probably just going to be a fish out of water at first. But if you do it and you live there for a few months and you're just like, well, you get into a routine and you actually learn how to deal with, like, even just sleeping in a new bed can be a very bad experience for people that aren't used to sleeping in a different bed on a regular basis. So the more you can do those things, the more comfortable you're going to be. And that will help you perform when you're actually at the trial itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, obviously, you know, prepare as well as you can. And then also remember that, like, you've probably had a great game after you didn't get a lot of sleep the night before, or had like a crap meal, or like didn't eat or something. So like, go into trials, like, just because of the nature of it, like, because you're going maybe far away, or, you know, maybe going to a different country or something, like, there are going to be situations that you're uncomfortable in. So do the best to, you know, figure it out. But at the same time, remember that, like, you can play well in whatever situation. You can play well on 3 hours of sleep with, you know, not having, you know, eaten breakfast. You can. It's not ideal, but you can still do that. So don't be like, oh my God, I didn't sleep. Oh my God, I didn't eat. I'm going to play horribly. No, you can still play well, and just fix your preparation for next time. Okay, so I think we've pretty much covered everything I can think of for trials. Obviously, you know, it's a big topic that comes up a lot, so I'm sure we'll revisit it at some point and touch on it when we talk about other topics, because I do really think that succeeding in a trial is, like, so important for most players who are watching this podcast and want to play at a high level. So, you know, best of luck to all of you. Quick shout outs before we wrap everything up. If you like the podcast, you can get it a couple days early. If you sub to me on Patreon, you should be following all of us on social media as well. I'll put the links down below. Improving Always merch. The store is out. You got tie-dye shirt, white t-shirt, the gray shirt, which is my favorite because it's like super soft and nice. We have beanies, and I'll be dropping some more stuff. So if you're looking to get anyone Christmas presents, might be the way to go, or maybe you're asking for something for Christmas, because Christmas is coming up. How many days till Christmas, Dimitri?
More like Christopher Miss, if you know what I'm saying, Coach Christo.
Oh, true. My birthday comes up in January, so you know. And
47 days. 47 days.
My God. And Noblet still needs a shirt. So, you know,
that's true.
Let's get him that. That's the podcast. Thanks for watching as always. And we'll see you next week.
Yep.
Peace.
Adios.
Bye.